Today, we are talking about education programs in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. My name is Andrea DeHaan. I am the outreach coordinator for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, which we affectionately refer to as CHaSS. And I'm so pleased to have people joining us for this presentation, whether you're joining live today or you've come back to watch this recording. We appreciate you taking the time to learn a bit more about our programs. And we hope that for those of you who are listening live, you'll take advantage of the features that we have available on the WebEx platform to ask us questions or to let us know a little bit about you. So please feel free to use the chat feature if you want to give us a shout out about where you're listening from or just want to introduce yourself. Feel free to use the chat feature as well to talk to me if you are having technical issues. And then I would also ask our attendees, if you have questions, you'll notice there's also a Q&A box that should be located. If it's not next to the chat, there should be 3 dots that give you more options and controls. You should be able to get to the Q&A box. Feel free to ask any of our panelists questions today as they're presenting, and we'll try to make sure they see those and get those answered for you. So just by way of an outline for today's presentation, you'll see that we have several presenters joining us today who are going to be talking about the following, and I'll allow the presenters to introduce themselves as things get underway. But to start, my colleague Tom Lilligren and I will be giving you an overview of the college as a whole. And then at approximately 11:45, we're running a few minutes behind, so it might be slightly later, but at approximately 11:45, we'll start with history teaching programs. Then we will be looking at language teaching programs, and then finally concluding with English teaching programs. We'll also have some announcements for you at the end of the presentation, some information regarding where you can get additional questions answered or additional resources available to you. So I encourage you to stick around for the end of the presentation, even if you're here for a specific program. So I'd like to turn the time over to the Director of CHaSS Advising, Tom Lilligren, and let him give us a brief intro before we move into our feature presentations today. Tom, I turn things over to you.
Thanks, Andrea. So I want to start just by introducing you a little bit to what our college is all about. And then we're going to focus specifically on some of these education programs. And the College of Humanities and Social Sciences is a really diverse, we're a really broad college. So we cover a lot of territory. But what really unites our programs is that all of them are focused on what it means to be human. So looking at what it means to be human through a lot of different perspectives, through our shared history and through the languages that we speak, through literature, and then also on the social science side, understanding why it is that we do the things we do, and from why we interact the way we do. Why is it that we that we behave the way we do in groups or in society at large, and how culture plays a role within that. So we really kind of look at that experience of humanity from a lot of different perspectives. The motto that we have for our college is think, discover, create. And this is something I think you'll see that we really apply in each of our programs. So with think, we're a college that asks big questions. So we ask questions about why are things the way they are. We look at history, trying to learn lessons that can learn about the past, but also that can influence what we think about today and the future. And classes in these areas, in languages and English and history, are a great way to learn about cultures of the past and give us tools to analyze issues that we might be dealing with today too. On Discover, we do a lot of research and we're learning more all the time. So not only are you going to be learning from people who are experts in the fields that they teach, but you'll also be learning from people who are actively engaging in research and coming up with new knowledge in the fields that you're teaching on. And sometimes as a student, you can be engaged in that too. So you might be able to be involved in doing your own research or doing research with faculty members as well. And create, in some of our programs, I think it's real obvious how they create. We have programs in creative writing and journalism where students are creating new works of media, new works of art. But we also have create in different ways too. So we have graduates who become entrepreneurs or start new nonprofits, new businesses. And a lot of our programs really focus on how to create connections between people. And I think that's one thing that our teaching programs are really do a great job of too, is being able to make connections with people for change and to help them to improve as well. And we really put an emphasis on learning by doing. A few examples of that in the education areas. So part of the capstone experience that you'll have in our education programs is student teaching, where you'll really be in a classroom as a teacher. But before you get to that point, there's a lot of opportunities along the way where you'll have a chance to interact with students too. Some of that's going to be through the secondary education classes that you take and assignments that are going to make it so you're in the classroom in those. But there's also chances to do tutoring with students in the areas that you're interested in teaching, or be a teaching fellow where you might work alongside a faculty member and even maybe get some experience interacting with college students and teaching college students in that class as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can get that experience as you're going through these programs. Kind of a second example of learning by doing, we have a lot of study abroad opportunities, an example and ways that you can, in these fields of language, English, history, where you can really experience that. So I mean, here you see examples of students who are on a study abroad in England, another example of students study abroad in China. But we have almost anywhere you want to go, there's opportunities that you can study abroad there. And some of those are specifically through these departments too. So opportunities to study World War II in Europe or do language study abroads in a number of different countries. So that can be a great way to really learn hands-on too. And just as one example from one of our alumni on how some of these experiences might go together, this is one of our alumni, Morgan Sanford Graham, who focused on English and Spanish as a teaching student. She got involved as a writing fellow, as so helping students in a writing lab, led an English Honors Society club, but also did research pretty extensively in several different areas that led to her being able to present that research as far away as in Mexico, but also presented it in Capitol Hill in Salt Lake and in local and national conferences on undergraduate research. Now she's a PhD student who's gone on to study in these areas as well. So I think she's just a great example of seeing how you can really combine a lot of, if there's things that interest you, find ways that you can really engage in that and do your own research and your own, and find your own path in that. So, and that's something we certainly have people who'd like to help you with that along the way. So now I'll turn the time back to Andrea to talk a little more about some of the specific programs that we have in our humanities and social science areas.
Thank you, Tom. So of course, we are the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And obviously in this brief interview, we're not going to go over all of the programs that are in our college today, but we do have them listed here and we have them broken down into those two categories. So humanities, you know, in that respect, we're trying to think about what it means to be human and how we experience the world and how that experience is documented. Is it documented through writing? Is it documented through history? Is it documented through language and culture? And we're sort of looking at what it means to be human when we look at some of these programs. The other category, social sciences, and you will see some social sciences, of course, you know, that aren't included in our college. They are spread out to a few other units across the university itself. But within our college, we're looking, when we talk about social sciences, we're talking about sort of how we then behave as humans. So how do we interact with each other? How do we create laws that regulate society? How do we study and understand the human experience? And again, we're not going to get into all of these programs today, but we just wanted to give you a background to let you know that there's a lot going on in our college, and it really can provide depth as well if you're looking into education programs and want to, you know, add a minor or add a second program that might help you broaden your experience while you're here. This can also be done, as I mentioned, by adding a minor. And as you can see, there are many minors to choose from. And again, we won't take the time to go through all of them, but you see them listed here. And really, you know, your experience at Utah State University should be, you know, as diverse and as broad as you can make it. And that's going to include things like the potential of a double major or adding a minor or adding a certificate program, which is another way that you can extend your experience. These are ways that you might not necessarily go in as much depth as a minor, but you are leaving with some, you know, skills that you can take into a career when you leave the university. And I would also encourage, just on this note, that your university experience is not just about being in the classroom. You know, it's also about what you do in clubs, how you participate in student government. So there's so many opportunities within our college and beyond to really have a well-rounded experience while you're a student at Utah State. And today specifically, though, we are looking at CHaSS education programs. And we know that these attract students who are interested in making a difference. I myself am a former English teacher. I taught high school English, reading, and ran a creative writing program for high school students in the ages of 9 through 12. And it really was the idea of making a difference that drew me to that profession. And you see that difference when a student is able to suddenly grasp something that they've been struggling with, or you see them getting excited about work that they've been able to produce. And it really is a meaningful career that I think really attracts a lot of people to it. And you're able to teach what you love. So in my case, I was a humanities major when I was in college a long time ago. I was a double major in English and German with a minor in creative writing. And while I myself went on to, choose the education path later in graduate school, I wasn't a teaching major when I was an undergrad. I really did start to sort of build that foundation and had the opportunity to figure out what subjects I was passionate about, and then to turn that passion into a teaching career that spanned more than a decade. And you're able to inspire and help others. And you really do that as a teacher, both inside and outside the classroom, right? It's both about how well you conduct your lessons and you make an impact for the learning goals of your students, but it's also your ability to serve as a club leader. It's your ability to mentor students outside the classroom and participate in education and in educational questions, right? As a teacher, you have to engage in professional development, and that gives you the opportunity to be an advocate for educational policy as well and to help make a difference. So I really think it is an area that attracts a lot of wonderful people, and it's great that you're here today learning more about those. And in our program specifically, you will learn the following. You will be licensed as a teacher when you leave, and I'll be turning things over to Tom in a moment. He's going to talk a little bit about how we work with the College of Education to make sure that you also get those methodology courses and you leave certified to teach and licensed to teach. And you also learn how to become an effective classroom teacher, right? Because it's not just knowing your subject area, it's not just being passionate about a particular topic, it's also learning the skills of classroom management, time management, lesson planning, and becoming an expert learner, right? If you're going into education, it's important to be a lifelong learner, right? Things change, materials are updated. So you have really a lot of opportunities in this career to continue to grow as a person. And as someone who gets to talk to a lot of alumni, I've heard from so many alumni in so many different backgrounds about the importance of continuing to be a lifelong learner and how much success and a sense of accomplishment and how rewarding it is for them to continue to learn on the job. So I think that becoming an educator is a great way. If you already have a passion for learning, it's a great way to continue that. And finally, I do want to just end by saying that we have the English, French, German, history, and Spanish teaching majors. Those are the programs that we have represented today, and those are the things that we will be focused on. But you should also be aware that CHaSS offers a number of teaching minors, and we can talk a little bit later about the difference between a teaching major versus a teaching minor, but you'll see that that includes things like Chinese, English, history, Latin, political science, sociology. So if you're interested, for example, in being a history teacher, but you want to add Latin as a Latin minor so that you're a bit more flexible in terms of what you can teach when you're hired by a school district, there are opportunities. And they can talk more specifically about some of these things. So with that, I want to turn things back over to Tom to talk a little bit about how the secondary education program works in combination with CHaSS programs.
Thanks, Andrea. One of the unique things about the teaching programs is that you will be have your education kind of in multiple camps of people who are helping you out to get to where you want to go. So today you're going to be able to meet some people from the specific programs that you're interested in, some of the faculty and advisors in that area. but you'll also throughout your time be interacting with the secondary education advisors too, and faculty in that as well. So you can see a little bit of kind of what the division is on who you might go to for where. Those as CHaSS advisors, it's our goal to really help you to identify what you want, to make a plan to get there, and overcome any challenges along the way. Secondary education advisors are going to focus a little more specifically on what you need to do to apply to that program, and then making a plan for how you're going to complete those education requirements and get to the student teaching point that you want as well. So you'll be working with both of these groups to get to where you want to go. So in general, there's a bit of a structure that you'll follow within these programs. So you'll notice that to start, you're likely going to be doing a number of your general education classes, early classes within the major. You'll progress to doing more advanced major classes, and this is when you'll be working with your CHaSS advisor to figure out, and the secondary education advisors, to figure out the right time to apply to the secondary education program. And then once you're admitted into that, that's when you're going to be taking more of the teaching classes, and as well as some of what we call clinical and methods classes within your area that you're going to get. Oftentimes being able to work directly with students or getting skills that are going to be directly applicable to the classroom. And a few things just to keep in mind as you're working towards getting admitted into the secondary education program is there are some specific requirements that you should be aware of, and you'll be working with your advisors to make sure that you know how this will apply as well. And you can just go to the next slide. So that you need to have a 3.0 overall GPA. That you'll also need to be able to pass a background check before you are able to get into the schools and interact with students there. You have to complete certain required classes with a required grade before you apply to the program. And for the language programs, you'll also have to complete an oral proficiency exam. So those are all kind of components that you'll need to be aware of, and you can work with your faculty and your advisors to make sure that you're on track to so that you're ready to apply and get admitted into the secondary education program. So now I think this is some of the basic info that we'll have. Now we'll break out a little bit into these specific majors, and you can find out about some of the majors that interest you. And before we do that, I do want to just mention that you're going to meet a number of different faculty members here, and a number of different advisors. And we want to encourage you, if you have questions if you're watching this live, feel free to ask us questions as you're watching it. But also, we hope that we can be contacts for you, that any other questions you have come up, and as you're starting these programs, that you'll feel free to continue to keep in touch with us. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can schedule an appointment with your advisor at this link on this page, and we're happy to answer any questions you have in starting up, but really be a resource with you throughout your time at Utah State to make sure that you get to where you want to go and kind of are able to have the experience that you want through each semester. So Andrea, I'll turn the time back to you if you want to transition over to our first group.
Excellent. And we're running a bit behind, so I'll be brief. We're going to be going into our history teaching breakout session, followed by our language teaching breakout session, followed by our English teaching breakout session. So that's the order of events, so please stick around for those. And I'm going to turn things over to the department head for history, Tammy Proctor, and our advisor for history and history teaching, Carson Tatton. So I turn the time over to both of you, and welcome.
Thanks. Carson, you want me to go first?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So I'm Tammy Proctor. I'm the department head in history. My specialty area is modern European history. So I do World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, all very cheery topics. But and I also do women's history, a lot of stuff on women and gender. So just to tell you a little bit about history teaching, we have teachers really all over the world who've come through our history teaching program, and a lot here in Utah. I'm always running into former history teaching majors when I go out to the high schools here to do observations. And it's a really vibrant community. A lot of the teachers have come back here to get master's degrees later on because we have a history master's program as well. Many of them have done cool projects that are engaging with the communities. So one of our recent graduates, for instance, in Ogden, has done a really neat project with the history of the railroads there. Another one of our teachers here in Cache Valley has an interactive project that is online that looks at the Berlin Wall and how that affected people's lives. So not only do they get jobs in teaching, but they're also really community oriented, many of them. And that's kind of an exciting thing for us to see, because it means that they're taking the teaching to students and also to the larger community. Just to give you a couple of ideas about some things that might be of interest to you. Study abroad was already mentioned, and we do have several study abroad programs. I took students last summer with a colleague to Oxford in the UK, and we had about, I think about a quarter of our students were history teaching majors. Two of them just graduated, and both of them are, I just heard from them last week, they both got jobs in middle schools down in Davis County, so that's exciting. And they both really thought the study abroad experience helped them in understanding how to teach. We also have a history club that's part of a national history honorary, Phi Alpha Theta. It provides an opportunity to get scholarships, to do activities here on campus. And also about every other year, we send students to the national conference. And so this year we sent 5 students to San Antonio to present. I think one of them was a history teaching major. We have a lot of scholarships in the history program, and you become eligible for those as soon as you declare a major. So you may want to look into that and talk to either Carson or I about, how to apply. But we have everything from full tuition and fee scholarships for a year to smaller kind of regular scholarships that you can get to help you offset your tuition. We also are very active participants in the Undergraduate Teaching Fellow Program, which is a university program that lets students work in classrooms to help faculty teach their classes. And it's a really good way, especially if you want to be a teacher, to get started right away learning some of those tools. So again, I think we have about 20 to 25 undergraduate teaching fellows per year that we hire to work with our faculty. So that's something else for you to ask about. Last thing I wanted to mention is that classics is in our program, and we do have a Latin teaching minor. As far as I know, every Latin teaching minor that we've had go through our program is now employed. So it's a kind of growing field, and it's also a little bit of a crazy community, but it's really fun. So the classics faculty hold a Roman game every spring. They're very active in classics organizations locally and nationally. And I don't think there are any classics students who feel sorry that they ended up getting into Latin or Greek. So, and the faculty would be very happy to talk to you about that. We don't have a teaching minor in religious studies, which is also in my department, but it is a minor program that a lot of history teaching majors end up doing just for fun on the side. So that's something else you could also inquire about. I'm happy to correspond with anybody who has questions. Most of the faculty here are very open to corresponding, but maybe I'll turn it over to Carson and let him, fill in what I've missed.
You've already said so much, Tammy. Being part of the history teaching major, it's honestly one of the best majors you can do on campus. About 9 out of 10 students that I talk to, when they come and talk to me and ask, why do you want to be a teacher? It always comes back to them having a middle school or high school history teacher who opened their eyes up to the world and that was their inspiration for what they want to do with their life. So as you do go through history teaching, you're joining a ranks of people who really do make the difference in people's lives and can help set them on a trajectory for their future. And so And history is just awesome. I will say some of those classes Tammy mentioned are some of the most in-demand classes that we have here at USU, even though they sometimes may not be the happiest of subjects, but they're still wildly interesting. But we also have a very great history faculty. They're very student-centered and work very closely with the students. And when you do go through a history teaching major, not only are you going to come out with teaching skills, but you're also going to come out with a broad knowledge of history, as well as with research abilities as well. And so it's going to make you very hireable. And also, as part of being a history teaching major, we also require that our students complete a teaching minor as well in a different subject area. So when you actually go through our program, you come out with 2 teaching licenses, being able to teach in 2 different areas aside from just history. And like Tammy said, our classics group, who do the Latin teaching, they are fantastic. Like she said, I've not met a student who's regretted going into classics. They absolutely love it. And their Roman games that they put on every year is the envy of the college. It's a lot of fun. And so, but if you ever do have any questions, I definitely encourage you to meet with me. I meet with me often so we can get your history degree planned. And whether your interests lie in studying the world wars or wanting to know more about ancient China, there's going to be a home for you in the classes that you can take. And so definitely meet with me often. And then the other piece of advice that I would give you is, having personally worked with over 600 student teachers, the students that are the most successful are the ones that know their stuff, know their content, but have also gotten involved in education early. So look for opportunities like doing the undergraduate teaching fellow programs or volunteering in public schools, becoming a tutor. When I was in college, one thing that got me into wanting to work in education is I substitute taught for a year. And so get involved early, and then study hard, and then you can be that change in the lives of other people that have changed theirs. And so, but yeah, meet with me often. If you have any questions, definitely don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks so much, Carson and Tammy. And I'll echo, had a chance to work quite a bit with history teaching students, that they're a fun group to work with, and they're great faculty and a lot of great things to be involved in. I wish that I could just jump into a lot of the classes and study abroad myself too. So now we want to transition a little bit to our next group. We have our languages teaching programs. We have multiple teaching programs as part of that. We have Dr. Maria Spicer Escalante, who's one of the professors from the languages programs, and also Carson Tatton is sticking around as our advisor for our language teaching programs in French, German, and Spanish as well. So we'll turn the time right over to them.
Would you like to go first, Maria? Okay. I think you need to unmute your microphone.
Well, I work very close with Susan Nguyen. In fact, I would like to acknowledge her because she did a lot of work for me. I always had questions, and we always work together. So Carson and I am looking forward to work very close to you. So we have Spanish, French, and German majors, and we also have Portuguese and Chinese minors. And I'm the one who is in charge of all classes that are offered for student teaching, to prepare them for student teaching, the methods class, the clinicals, the student teaching, and the practicum. I'm the one in charge over CHaSS. And I work very closely with Denise Taylor, with Charlotte Hart, and with Anita Schumann to put students for clinicals and to put students for student teaching. And most of our students are either native speakers of the languages or returning missioners. One of the problems that we have faced is that returning missioners do not always reach the level of language proficiency that is required to teach. There are minimum requirements to start in the STEP program, but there are minimal requirements to teach, especially in the dual language immersion program. And we don't know what is going to happen with that, but we feed. We have probably 30 students in all languages already teaching in the DLI program. We have 246 programs in the state of Utah. We are serving more than 4,000 students in the state of Utah. And well, it has been an issue for us. But if you have other questions, let me know. They have to take the oral proficiency interview. It's a national interview. And all our students, in order to graduate during their student teaching, they have to do the PPAT. It's a national test or a national document. And Jessica, you have gone through this too in English. ETS is the administrator of this program, and students prepare a portfolio, and we have been very successful so far. It's the second semester. We just finished the second semester during the coronavirus, and all our students passed. We had a pilot study in the fall, and then in the spring we had our students doing the test. I had 5 students doing the PPAT, and all of them passed, and we'll see what life brings us. So Carson, please fill in, because this is all I know, and I don't know anything.
You know a lot, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, like I said, my name is Carson Tatt, and I'm the new languages advisor. The former advisor, her name was Suzanne Wynn, is about to retire. And so I'm taking up the helm here for the languages advising. But like Maria said, we offer a variety of language teaching majors that you can do. We offer teaching majors in French, German, and Spanish, as well as we have a teaching minor and also Chinese as well, in addition to French and German and Spanish and Portuguese. Apologies. And so, like Maria said, when you come and do teaching a language, being able to communicate in another language hasn't been more crucial than now. You can go into almost any school, especially public schools, and there's going to be a number of students who English may not be their first language. Or you have students who are wanting to learn those languages so they can communicate. We are becoming a more globalized world. And so having that ability to communicate and communicate effectively is ever important. And so we need good language teachers to teach these students, and also to help those students who English may not be their first language. And so when doing the program, like Maria said, you go through and you do your major requirements, and then you apply for the STEP program. Part of getting into that STEP program does require that you'll have to pass an oral proficiency exam. And so to meet the qualifications and be able to perform well on that exam, what's really strongly recommended is that you have some sort of in-depth experience speaking the language in another country. And so LES missions are really popular things that students do. Also, study abroads can help you do that. But like Maria said, that isn't always necessarily enough to guarantee that you have the skills needed. And so that's why it's important that after you have those experiences, you continue to study. Learning a language is a lifelong process. It doesn't just end with school. As someone who actually speaks Thai, it's something that I have to do every day. And I also took Spanish classes here at USU when I was a student. And I can't tell you how many times even having a basic knowledge of another language has really benefited. Whether or not you do decide to be a foreign language teacher, even having the most basic ability to communicate can help you get promotions, get jobs. You'll be a principal's dream if you at least have a basic level of another language, because you're going to have students who are going to need your help. And so, but with the languages department, there's a lot of cool opportunities that you can get involved in. There's different clubs surrounding the different languages and different opportunities. And so if you do want to learn more, definitely feel free to reach out to me or to Maria, and we're happy to talk to you about it, talk about some of those opportunities, and help you make a plan to get through your language program. And so, yeah, I love history too, and I love languages. So I'm spoiled. I get to advise all the subjects I love. And so come talk to me.
Thanks so much, Carson and Maria. And now we'll transition over to talking about our last of our education programs that we're going to focus on today. We have Dr. Jessica Rivera-Mueller here, as well as Susie Parkinson, who's the advisor for our English programs. So in just a moment, we'll just transition over to speaking with each of them. So yeah, Jessica and Susie.
I'll go ahead and start us off. My name is Susie Parkinson, and I'm the advisor for the most of the English programs that we have available. I am going to start off with just an overview of our English department. We have emphases in English teaching, of course, but also emphases in non-teaching areas such as creative writing and professional tech writing or tech common rhetoric and literature. And I bring this up because sometimes a student really can't make up their mind. Do they really want to do a teaching program? Do they want to do a non-teaching program? And the English department has a policy that says a student has to pick one program to officially complete and have transcripted. So students often have this tough choice. Do they go with this passion of writing, or do they go with teaching because they also enjoy working with students and young people and the teaching aspects? So we have a couple of different options within teaching that allows you to either make a clear choice or kind of dabble in other areas within the English department. So the first option is the English teaching. I call it the traditional emphasis because it's the one that's been around forever. I will say the English department and their English education program has been around for a very long time. It's a well-established program. It is very well organized and managed, and the state of Utah is one of the largest programs in the state. And the state of Utah, educators throughout the state recognize Utah State University and the amazing ability that we have in training our English education students in particular, and all of our secondary ed programs. Our secondary ed program at Utah State has one of the highest rankings in the nation and in the state in particular. So it's a very strong program. So the way the English teaching emphasis works is it is broken into, although you're going to take all these classes kind of concurrently, but we have some department requirements and we have some emphasis requirements, and then we have teaching methodology courses that you're going to take as part of your emphasis requirements. So the department requires that you complete a course that incorporates diversity in your English studies, and specifically for our English teaching students, they complete a course. It's an upper division 4,000 level course, and it's teaching methodologies. I'm going to screw this title up. Sorry, Jessica, and I know it.
It's teaching literacy in diverse classrooms.
Thank you. And it's really a course that is designed to teach you to be able to assess your learners appropriately and diagnose where are they at with their literacy levels. Are they reading at grade level? Are they writing at grade level? And how do you then redesign your curriculum to assist your students in the most appropriate ways to bring them up to grade level? Or if you have students that are above grade level, how do you continue supporting that more advanced level of learning? So that is the course that you're going to take specifically to meet the department diversity requirement. And then there are some core classes you're going to complete. You're going to complete a course that requires you to study cultural studies, how English is tied into cultural studies. And usually that involves a course that is like an intro to folklore and American studies, digital cultures, and so forth. You'll take a writing exploration course, so either a writing course in creative writing, fiction, poetry, or nonfiction, or a course in professional technical communication. And then you'll take English 2600, which is an intro to lit analysis. And this is a course that's going to set you up for being able to analyze literature, prepare a critical response, basic knowledge of literary theories and so forth. But it's really designed to teach you how to do your homework in your upper division literature classes. And in your upper division literature classes, you'll take 6 of those. You'll learn about literary histories, specific authors, genres, and different themes within literature. Specifically, the state requires that students take Shakespeare. So if you love it, it's there, yay. When it comes, and in addition to these literature courses, you'll do one English elective. Any course that you want to take from the department that's upper division, you can do a course in research methods. You can take an additional course on how to teach about creative writing. You can take a creative writing class, whatever it is that supplements what you want to study with, through English. And then we have some methodologies courses. So I've already mentioned the teaching literacy in diverse classrooms. Well, Jessica did. And then we have 4 other specific methods courses that you'll take. There is an intro to English teaching course that you'll take probably during your sophomore year. And it's a course that really just introduces you to what does it mean to be an English teacher? What does an English teacher do? And that is paired with a clinical that's available through secondary education. So that will be your first real opportunity to be in the classroom, observe a teacher in action, see how they're managing their classroom, see how they're designing curriculum. Your instructor, your cooperating mentor in that clinical might actually ask you to get involved with the class. They might ask you to do maybe some one-on-one tutoring or small group instruction, and depending on how comfortable you are in the classroom, you might even be asked or volunteer to write a lesson plan and deliver it and see how it goes. So the next methodologies course, although we don't necessarily have to take these in a particular order, but the next one that's I'm going to cover is a young adult lit course, English 3510. And this is a course that, again, teaches you what is young adult lit, what qualifies as young adult lit, but then specifically digs into how do you start designing curriculum and lesson planning and unit planning utilizing young adult literature. And then we have a course that does something similar with literature in general, and a course that teaches teaching writing, curriculum design, and so forth. So those are the methodologies courses. The program is going to teach you the background knowledge of the content that you need, but it's also going to provide courses teach you how to be a teacher of English. So that's the traditional option for the English program. We have 3 composite programs as well. And the composite programs allow you as a student to kind of dig into another area within English and combine that with your teaching program so that you don't have to make that tough choice. But it also allows you to dig in, get a little more content background so that you have more expertise to take into the classroom with you and maybe allow you to design some class experience in high schools and middle schools that are a little bit more specific to your areas of study. So those composites are a composite in creative or in writing in general, where you can take more creative writing and professional tech writing classes. There is a composite emphasis in literature, again, allowing you to take additional literature classes. And there's a composite option in American studies, studying American culture and history and politics from a variety of different viewpoints. So those are the different options that we have available. All of them are attainable in 4 years with careful planning, and we'll help you, make certain that you have a plan in place that's going to keep you on track for graduation. The English teaching traditional emphasis has a little more room for electives, more so than the composites, because the composites require additional courses in creative writing and literature and American studies. But the traditional English teaching emphasis allows some room in there for electives. And so I strongly recommend students think about what you want to do with those electives. You can certainly check into endorsements that are available through the secondary ed department. You can take additional courses from the English department that might help you set up to do things like work with yearbook, doing some editing and publishing type classes that might help you be a yearbook advisor or coordinator. You can look into doing teaching minors or any other minor, really. A minor for the English program, it's not required, highly recommended. So you have that flexibility to use those electives however you choose to. You can also look at completing the Bachelor of Arts option. So you can study 2 years of foreign language and complete a Bachelor of Arts degree rather than the default Bachelor of Science. Or you can look into study abroad options. I do recommend that students consider, what are you going to do? And I think Carson alluded to this a little bit earlier as well. I have a degree in education, it's elementary education, but I can tell you that, the things that I did outside of my schoolwork was what set me up for success as an education major. And I did work as a teacher's aide for 2 summers, one summer with the migrant school and the next summer with the Title I program that was helping fund that migrant school and tied to it. So, look for these opportunities to volunteer, to be in a classroom as much as you can, to do substitute teaching, Within the English department specifically, join a club, get involved with the Honors Department Society, the Honors Society, Sigma Tau Delta, get involved in undergraduate research. We have some fabulous faculty that love including students and guiding students through undergraduate research. Work at our writing center. What a great way to actually apply your teaching skills through tutoring other students in their English 1010, 2010, and other English classes, helping them with their composition and hopefully removing some roadblocks for their writing process. Yeah, so lots of different clubs and organizations. We have a creative writing club, folklore club. You don't have to be in those programs in order to participate with those clubs. We have a lit magazine, so if you want a little experience doing some editing, publishing with a lit magazine, tons of different ways to get involved. So Jessica, you want to tell them a little bit about class experience and whatever else you have planned?
Yeah, thanks so much, Susie, and it's good to be with you all here today. Again, my name is Jessica Rivera-Mueller, and so I'm a professor in the English department. I'm one of there's 5 core faculty members who teach the English education classes, those required methodology classes that Susie spoke about. And so I just thought I'd share a little bit from the faculty perspective and also make myself available for questions too. I love this department because I love the term expert learners. We are a group of faculty that work well with each other. We love collaborating with each other. We love continuing to learn. And so the curriculum that you experience in our classes, we are continually working to develop and working with each other to do that. I think another strength of our program is that we take feedback from students really seriously. So every year we have an advisory group of our graduates and to find out, what's been helpful to you? What do you want to know more about? We are constantly always trying to learn as well to make our program the best that it can possibly be. I'm glad that Susie mentioned and others mentioned the UTF program. That's another big strength of our program, the Writing Center, lots of ways to get involved. But I thought I'd share some other things too, some recent developments that we're working on, just opportunities you can experience to work on developing as a future teacher. Every year, I take a group of students to our statewide conference for English teachers. So it's the state chapter for our national organization. And so if you participate in that project, you're able to go and attend with all the other teachers in the state of Utah who are also English teachers, and that's their professional development. So you get to participate as a professional with your future colleagues in that context. And that's been important to us because we really believe that your professionalization experience begins right in our classrooms. We consider you're becoming a teacher right now because you will be in the classrooms working with students. And so we really try to build that collegial relationship so that you feel really prepared when you walk into, your own first classroom for the first time when you're a teacher. Another initiative that I've developed is students in my teaching writing class have the opportunity to serve as judges for a statewide writing competition that is also sponsored through the Utah Council of Teachers of Education program. I serve on the board of that, and so we've worked out this project where you get to work with real student writers on their writing and think about what does it mean to work with student writers and to support that, to assess that, to evaluate that. What kind of classroom culture do you want to set up to support that kind of learning when you are a teacher? So that's another cool project that's been a recent development in our program. We also have a really great festival. It's called the Young Writers and Artists Fest that happens in Cache Valley every spring. If you're local, you may have participated in it, maybe as a student yourself, but it's where middle school writers from all the schools in the Valley get to share their writing and their artwork. And with their writing specifically, they're able to perform them. And it's so fun because, parents come, guardians come, friends come to cheer people on as they perform their writing. So it's like the basketball game version, right, for writing. And we don't get those experiences too often, but it's a great time to serve, to celebrate writing. And so my students also participate in helping be responders for that and put on that event. So we try as faculty to really have lots of those opportunities where you're able to really engage with adolescent people and just begin that journey that you'll continue throughout the rest of your career.
I'm going to chime in really quickly on a sad note, sorry. But sometimes we have students that get through our program and they just fall out of love with teaching. It happens. But your teaching experience with Utah State, your studies in teaching still set you up for an amazing career path. You can do so much with a teaching degree, even if you're not going to be in a classroom. the basics of problem solving that you're learning as a prospective teacher, the future teacher, learning how to do some basic assessment, learning about your potential learners, designing learning experiences and implementing those learning experiences, and then evaluating how did those go. Those are basic problem solving skill sets that every employer is looking for. And so even if you go through a teaching program and you're like, oh, this isn't going to work for me, think about, could you be a corporate trainer? Could you work, in an HR office to provide some onboarding training? There's just so many other things that you can do with a teaching degree. It is designed specifically to teach you how to be a middle school and a high school teacher, and it's going to do a great job of teaching you to do that. But if you think that, start having doubts at the end, don't lose heart. It's still a great program. Finish it up, and you can use those skills in so many different areas of a career path.
And I also work with a lot of students too who know that they have alternative goals too, but because they value the work that we're doing, it fits those goals. I have a student just this spring he's going to be a great teacher, but he really wants to be an administrator. He knows that he just, wants to be in that kind of position and do that kind of work. And so he's going to do it later on, but he knows that. A lot of our students too are really interested in teaching at the college level and want to go on for a PhD. We saw Morgan earlier. I loved working with Morgan. She was one of those students, right, who kind of debated, should I teach high school? Do I want to teach at the college level? We're able to support all of those career paths.
I just would like to reinforce what you said. One of the things that we need in languages, for example, is as you mentioned, all the things that you have mentioned, but also to convince the students that we need supervisors, we need principals, we need people who can write textbooks, people who can evaluate other people, people who can be coaches, stakeholders, people who can work at the Senate level, right? We need educators. And I think that the education that we provide and the message we send our students is that your task doesn't end in the classroom. Being an educator doesn't mean that you have to be with 6-year-olds, right? As you said, you can go to grad school. And I don't know if you agree with me, but being in the trenches really prepares you to be a better professional when you go to a master's program or to a PhD program. You have a different perspective when you have been in the trenches, in whatever, as an advisor, whatever you have done. Sorry.
And I would just, as someone who was a teacher and transitioned from a career in teaching to a very different career path in nonprofit and higher education administration, I would echo what you guys have said. It really does prepare you for a variety of careers, even if it is designed primarily to prepare you to be in the classroom. But those are skills that you can translate to a lot of things. Any final thoughts from any of our presenters or from Tom before I wrap up today? Okay, then I just want to thank all of our wonderful presenters today. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell us more about your individual programs. And for those of you who have joined us for this presentation, you'll see on the slide that I've listed the contact information for everyone we heard from today. So please take the time to reach out to them if you have specific questions about their programs, or if you want to set up an appointment with one of our advisors, please take the time to do that. You'll also see this link in the bottom corner, the chas.usu.edu/explore. You'll note that link does give you the opportunity to, come and learn a bit more about all of our programs. We have done this summer a series of these virtual tours. We were forced to do things virtually instead of in person. And while we miss seeing people in person, it does come with the advantage that we've been able to record these and put them on our website and make them available to you. So if you want to come learn, for example, you're here today for English teaching, but you want to learn more about other English programs in general, you can go back and watch that presentation. Or if you're interested in languages or history and you want to learn about those as broader programs and not just the teaching programs, you have the opportunity to do that there. I also want to mention one other great way to learn about the College of Humanities and Social Sciences before we leave today, and that is our Light on the Hill event. That is scheduled for September 1st at 7 p.m. That will be a virtual event this year, but we want to make sure that everyone knows that that event and that tradition will continue. This is a great way to hear from our dean, to hear from our student clubs. These include clubs in all of the departments you saw represented today, and you'll have the opportunity as well to hear from some of our alumni presenters who are just going to share in celebrating what the CHaSS experience looks like and help get us started on a good note for the fall semester. So join us on September 1st at 7 p.m. And today does conclude our virtual tours for the summer. Again, they're all available on the chas.usu.edu/explore website for you to go back and watch. And I thank all of our presenters today. I thank all of our attendees today. Thank you so much for joining, and I wish everyone a wonderful and safe afternoon. Thanks so much, everyone.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Carson. We will be in touch.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.